Have you ever wanted to quit your job and work for yourself, but you're afraid to because your job pays you every week in and week out, and you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything special to get your paycheck except show up and do your work. And if you don't know how to start a business, it can seem overwhelming. You don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, and it's easier just to stay where you are. We've got the gardeners here, so Betty's a little crazed. But that held me back from starting my own business for a long, long time. Back then, there was no YouTube. Very few people had started their own business without a lot of money, and I didn't have a lot of money. I always spent what I earned, and I just didn't even know where to start. And I had bills to pay. And so what I've learned, having worked for myself for the last decade now, is it's actually a lot easier than you think. And you can do a business plan, and you can form your LLC, and those are all good things. You can research for years and do nothing, and you won't have a business. You'll have a lot of knowledge and you might have more questions, but you won't have a business. But if you look at, I would recommend, unless you've got a big net, like if you have a husband or a boyfriend that's going to take care of things, if you fail, or you can live at home with your parents, then that's different. But if you're like me and you're relying on yourself to pay your bills, you've got to have money coming in. So the first thing that I would tell you is don't quit your day job. If you have a day job, keep it. But look around and think about, if you were living your perfect life, what would you be doing? If you could have your way and you could do anything, what would it be? And then I want you to look around at the things that you're already doing that you could charge, that you could do for pay. Maybe it's you like to play with animals. Maybe your dream, like for me, my perfect job was, if I could do whatever I wanted, I would play with dogs all day. And that wasn't even a business at the time. It was just something I thought, well, if I could do whatever I wanted, I'd just hang out with animals. But you know what? Once I decided that in a perfect world, that's what I would want to do, dog walking became a thing, and pet sitting became a thing, and boarding, and the whole list of things that you can do with animals, cat sitting, all of it. And if you have a dream and there's something that you really enjoy doing, there's a 90% chance that it could be a business, depending on what it is, as long as it's legal. Now, look around at the things that you're already good at. Maybe you make fantastic cakes. Maybe everybody loves your lasagna. I've got a friend who makes soups. She doesn't do it year round. She does it seasonally. In the wintertime, she'll make soups, and now she's doing catering. You just got to start. The hardest part is deciding to start, and starting messy. Just start. Make a sale, even if it's to your neighbor or to a friend. And maybe it's terrible. Maybe you decide you want to make soup and it's awful. Okay, so you cross soup off the list and you go to the next thing. Maybe you do laundry and ironing and stuff like that. I'm just using that as an example because I have a friend who's fantastic at laundry. But whatever it is that you really are good at and that you enjoy, think about, okay, well, this is what I'm good at. Maybe it's drawing. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's gardening. There's all kinds of things. And, gardening is more than just mowing and blowing. You could be a garden designer. You could be a consultant, for garden planning. You could work at a nursery. And the other thing that I would say is, if you could get a job in that field and work for somebody else for a little while, use them as a mentor. That's even better. Maybe if you wanted to, I'm going to use myself as an example. When I first got into the pet sitting and dog walking business, I volunteered at a shelter. And the shelter gave me all kinds of training on how to handle dogs that were scared and that were afraid. Scared and afraid are the same thing, but you get what I'm saying. They taught me how to handle dogs and how to safely leash them up and how to approach a new dog and all kinds of things, dog body language. They had all these courses. And if you wanted to do garden planning, maybe you get a job at a nursery and you can start talking to them about, you know, the types of things that grow in different seasons, and you can learn more. You could have a garden of your own. You could start a community garden. There's so many different things that you could do that you could monetize. But the thing that holds most people up isn't that they haven't researched enough or they haven't learned about business enough. It's that they get too afraid to start. And that is what keeps most people from ever starting a business. Because if you start and you start messy, yes, you do have to get all the legal stuff dialed in, but you don't have to have it dialed in on day one. You know, if you want to start now, if there's certain things you don't want to get in trouble with, like you don't want to get in trouble with health violations, you know, so if you're going to be doing something that's highly regulated, like feeding people or caring for the elderly or something like that, you know, you want to have a baseline knowledge on what can trip you up so you can avoid the things that will get you arrested or shut down. But past that, just start small, start on as low a budget as possible so you don't blow a lot of money. Don't quit your day job, do it as a side hustle. If you can work for somebody else to start it as a second job or a part-time job, that's great, because they're basically gonna teach you how to do what you wanna do. And they'll pay you while you're learning. So that's what I would say. If you wanna start a business and worry about all the other details later. Not much later, but later. And once you get going, you'll learn as you go. You'll learn really fast, you know, how to set up your business. You do want to set up, you know, the correct business structure for your size and your industry. You want to make sure that you're not breaking any laws, you know, so if you want to raise chickens and you want to sell them at auction, you have to have a chicken, you know, breeder's license. So there are things that you need to do before you start doing that, but you know, you can start small. And that's where most people just don't start at all, because they get overwhelmed by everything that they're learning and they just think, oh, it's too much, I don't have time. But if you have time to watch television, and you have time to watch, you know, movies and television shows and YouTube videos and scroll on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. You know, I do my share of scrolling on YouTube, but we have the time. We have a lot of time, you know, and you can even get your children involved. You're like, oh, I can't, I'm a single mom, I'm a single dad, I don't have the time, my kids are my focus. That's great. But you know, while they're at their soccer practice, you can be researching stuff on your iPad or your laptop or your phone. And when they go to sleep, you can keep going. You know, there's a lot of ways to do things if you want it. And if you don't want it, if you don't want to start your own business, don't. And you know, you never have to turn your business into a full-fledged business that takes over your other job. It could just be a side hustle that you enjoy forever. You know, there are no rules on this. You do it as long and as big or small as you want, and you have freedom. And if you ever do get laid off from your job, you have another way to make money that's already in place. And I highly recommend that. I think everybody should have other sources of income. So if you work a 9-to-5, please don't let that be your only source of income. Try to find some other way to bring income coming in, because you just know, you know, when you're at the mercy of someone else and their business, you have no job security. When you work for yourself, you don't have job security either, but you have a whole lot more control over it. And you can see it coming. So that's what I would recommend. I'm gonna go now because the gardeners have really started mowing or blowing around where I'm at, so. I hope this helps somebody, and I hope this is something that gives you something to think about. I'll talk.